What if the Mongols conquered Japan? Because in 1281, they almost did. 140,000 soldiers, 4,000 ships, the largest naval invasion in history up to that point, and the only thing that stopped them was the weather. But what if the sky stayed clear? What if the storm never came, and Japan fell? Because the world that follows is not the world you know, not even close. Let's rewind. By 1274, Kublai Khan had already conquered China, Korea, Persia, and half of Russia. He ruled more land than any human being in history, and he wanted Japan. He sent envoys first, polite letters, submit or else. Japan's response? They executed the envoys. So Kublai sent a fleet. The first invasion in 1274 landed at Hakata Bay. The Mongols had gunpowder bombs, poisoned arrows, tactics the samurai had never seen. Japan was losing. Then a storm hit. The Mongol fleet pulled back. Japan called it kamikaze, the divine wind. They built a massive defensive wall along the coast. They trained, they prayed, and in 1281, Kublai came back, twice as hard. 140,000 men, split between two fleets converging from Korea and southern China. The Japanese fought them at the wall for weeks, barely holding on. And then, in August of 1281, a massive typhoon tore through Hakata Bay. It destroyed most of the Mongol fleet. Thousands drowned. The survivors fled. Japan was saved, again, by the wind. But in our version of history, tonight, the sky is clear. No typhoon comes. The Mongol fleet holds. The wall is breached. Hakata burns. Within 6 weeks, northern Kyushu falls. The samurai clans fight hard, they always do, but they're fighting a military machine that had crushed empires. The Mongols don't fight one warrior at a time, they fight like a system. By the end of 1281, Japan belongs to Kublai Khan. Now here's where it gets dark. The Mongols are not gentle occupiers. They install a governor in Hakata. Taxes flow to Khanbalik. That's modern Beijing. Japanese land is redistributed to Mongol officers and Korean collaborators. The samurai class, the warrior nobility, is either executed, enslaved, or driven underground. The emperor in Kyoto? Still technically on his throne, but he answers to a Khan now. The resistance starts immediately. Scattered samurai launch guerrilla raids from the mountains of Kyushu. They're fierce, disciplined, absolutely committed to dying before surrendering. But Kublai has crushed guerrillas before. He did it in China, in Vietnam. He knows the playbook. He doesn't chase them, he starves them, cuts off supply routes, burns the villages that shelter them. Within 5 years, organized resistance in Kyushu is gone. The rest of Japan watches and calculates. By 1290, most of Honshu, the main island, has submitted. Not out of loyalty, out of survival. So what happens to Japanese culture? This is the part that historians argue about, and it's fascinating. The Mongols had a track record of absorbing cultures they conquered. In China, Kublai adopted Chinese customs, Confucian administration, Buddhist temples. He didn't erase everything. But Japan is different. Japan's culture was deeply tied to the samurai, to the warrior code, to Shinto, to the idea that the emperor was divine. The Mongols attack all three of those directly. The samurai are suppressed, Shinto shrines are taxed or demolished, and the idea of a divine emperor, Kublai finds that politically inconvenient. So Japanese identity doesn't die, but it goes underground. Tea ceremony practiced in secret, poetry passed in whispers. The myths and stories survive in monasteries hidden in mountain forests. Now let's zoom out, because the ripple effects here are enormous. In our timeline, Japan spent the next 200 years isolated and feudal, the Edo period. No foreign trade, no influence in and out. A completely unique culture sealed off from the world. That doesn't happen here. Mongol Japan becomes a trade node. Ships from China, Korea, Southeast Asia pass through Japanese ports. The islands become part of the Mongol economic network, which means they're integrated into Eurasia in a way they never were before. And that changes Asia's trajectory completely. In our timeline, Japan modernizes fast in the 1800s, faster than almost any country in history. It builds a navy, beats Russia in 1905, becomes an imperial power, and eventually attacks Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941. In this timeline, none of that exists. There is no Meiji Restoration, no Japanese Empire, no Pearl Harbor, which means the United States enters World War II differently, or maybe not at all. The Pacific War as we know it doesn't happen. Hiroshima, Nagasaki. The atomic bomb may still be built, but it's never dropped on Japan. Because Japan, as a nation-state, effectively ceased to exist in 1281. What remains? A people, a language, fragments of a culture that survived in secret for generations. By the 1300s, a hybrid civilization emerges, part Mongol, part Korean, part Japanese, a new thing that has no name in our history books. When the Mongol Empire collapses in the mid-1300s, this hybrid civilization doesn't suddenly become Japan again. It becomes something else, something we'll never know. The divine wind didn't come, and the world it would have protected was erased. No samurai code, no Edo period, no anime, no PlayStation, no Pearl Harbor. All of it gone, because of one clear August sky in 1281. History doesn't just hinge on battles, sometimes it hinges on the weather. If this blew your mind, subscribe, because next week we're asking another question that changes everything.